Oh, Leo, Jupiter is currently combust right on your sign. And of course, this is going to dampen your identity and dampen your vitality for living. It's like you're going to be operating at 70% of your usual presence. Could feel really nasty, but there's a change coming, Leo. You've also had Venus in her fall sign in your second house, and that's really hitting in on your self-worth and your finances with a critical feeling of, oh my God, there's just never enough. And oh my God, Leo, are we sick of that feeling? But have hope, Leo friends. It's not going to stay this way, and I'm going to tell you how and when and why it's all going to change. Let's go. This is a video forecast for your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. You can check out all 3 videos and they will tell you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Friends, I am Ksenia and welcome to the Astro News and Weather Report for the rest of August 2026. Now, this is tropical Vedic astrology, not sidereal. Look it up if you need to know the difference. And yes, I am a real person, not AI. If you're new here and having trouble finding the piece about your particular sign, all you need to do is go to the timestamps or the chapters to take you directly to the information. But for those of you who enjoy learning about astrology and understanding the full gamut of what this week holds for you, then please enjoy listening to the introductory piece. Before we dive into the astrology this month, my friends, I have 5 big announcements to make and I'm so excited to share them with you. The first is that my Astro Wheels are back. They are for sale at the website and the US edition is just fantastic. You can order yours today before the small production run that I'm starting with is all sold out. And believe me, they sell out fast. The second announcement is that I will be selling my Astro Wheels at our upcoming Stars Over Tahoe retreat. Again, you can check that out in the details on the website. There's a link in the description below. You'll not only enjoy a fabulous retreat with myself and my husband, David Warner Matheson, but you can get yourself a fabulous Astro Wheel free from postage costs at the retreat as well too. So as I said, check the link in the description and join the wait list for the retreat to be the first to book in for the retreat as soon as our rooms are released for sale. Now, our next announcement, number 3, is that obviously the eclipse is upon us. We're hearing all about it in social media, etc., etc. And those who follow me, they know that I do a mammoth reading for each sign and the impacts of the eclipse for each sign every single eclipse season. And that's available at my Patreon family, the Guiding Star Astrology family. This is something you don't want to miss if you want to work with the energies of this eclipse, if you want to understand it fully, if you want to use its potential blessings to get the most out of your life. And this is going to be a very blessed eclipse series. I can't wait to tell you all about it at the Patreon family. The link again will be in the description below. If you want to join that community, it's only $5 to join for a month, which gives you access to all the eclipse forecasts and even more stuff from the back catalogue that you will love. And the 4th announcement that I want to make is that readings for August and September are now available as well. You can book a time that works for you. And in fact, I've changed my website so that you can now see what's available before you make your booking if you want a live reading with me. Or you can book a pre-recorded reading with me. These are actually my favorite. You know, I can do a really deep dive into your astrology in a pre-recorded reading the way I just can't do in a live session. And I love the teacher in me, the researcher in me, you know, the person who loves to deep dive 3 planets in the 8th house. I can't help myself. I love going really, really deep into people's charts and telling them all that I see unfolding there about their personality and what's going to happen in the future. I love exploring people's charts in a pre-recorded reading. So these are all available now at the website, and this is just in time as we get back into life and say farewell to summer in the Northern Hemisphere or get ready for the beautiful spring that's emerging down in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, finally, I have a new way of sharing videos here at the Guiding Star Astrology YouTube channel. You're going to want to listen to this so you know what to expect in the future. On Thursdays, I will be sharing the cardinal signs. They will get their week ahead reading on Thursday. On Fridays, it's the turn of the fixed signs to receive their reading. And on Saturday, the mutable signs will get all the juicy astro goodness for their sign in a reading for the week ahead. So I hope everybody's subscribed to the channel so they don't miss a single episode of astrological empowerment. Now, friends, I can't help but notice as I talk to all my astrology friends and my beautiful Patreon family, we have lots of chat groups, and I hear how everybody's going and how everyone's experiencing the energies of the moment there. Same with my fantastic Royal Stars Academy students. I also have been talking a lot to my loved ones, and one thing I notice, everyone is really struggling right now. For example, some of my very famous and well-known astrology friends are wondering why their businesses have suddenly just dried up like that. And it's more than just the summer quiet period that happens every year or the advent of AI. They're actually feeling a lack and stuckness in the energy, in the energetic field. And they're not wrong. It's almost palpable. You can almost hold it and touch it. Others have mentioned the tremendous amount of shadow work that they're struggling to process right now. Other people I know have mentioned the tremendous rises in crime that they're seeing, both personal instances of crime and also the obvious corporate and governmental crimes that are taking place in front of us everywhere. The mask is absolutely off. So there's this sensation of fear that I'm really sensing in the ether, what's going to become of us type of energy right now. So just know that if you're feeling this way too, you're not alone. It's the energy of this moment. And I'm going to break it down for you in this video. We're going to look at the astrology of why it's feeling that way right now. And then we're going to look at when it's going to change, and it is going to change. You're going to want to stick around and find out all about how and why that will change. And as always, I'm going to wrap things up by making it personal for your sun, moon, and your rising sign. So stick around for the astro goodness. Here we go. The first reason that the energy feels so heavy right now is that Jupiter is combust. Jupiter is hidden in the sky until August 9th through to 20, depending on where you reside on the globe, when he will become visible again. But as you can see on the astro wheel here is the sun, here is Jupiter, they're conjoined. And therefore, from our vantage point on Earth, here at the logo, we can only see the sun. We can't see Jupiter. Jupiter is lost in the glare of the sun. He is invisible, not in the sky at all, as far as we can see. So the auspicious blessings that we normally associate with this great benefic planet Jupiter, they now become weak when they're not visible. And challenging situations in our lives become more noticeable, more pronounced when Jupiter is hidden in the sky. It's this classic as above, so below. When we have the great benefic visible, our lives feel more benefic. When Jupiter is invisible, we feel more desperate, more fearful. Jupiter is the planet of faith, the planet of expansion, the planet of, it'll work out. And he is present in the sky. We just can't see him. He's present in a sign that's usually strong for him. So that's thumbs up. That's good. But he's not giving any light. He is not visible. And it means there's an absence. Well, actually, it means there's not an absence of resources available to us and support networks that are available to us, but it's an absence of this feeling that everything is going to be okay. That's what we're experiencing. So Jupiter is the planet, and he's so beautiful. I love him so much. Jupiter is the planet that says, you know what? There's a way through this. Things can improve. Someone will come to my aid. Someone will help. There's more than enough for everybody. The future contains so many possibilities. Justice, meaning, and proportion will eventually prevail upon the earth. Things can grow rather than simply be managed. These are Jupiter thoughts. These are Jupiter concepts and energetic dispositions. And when his light is no longer in the sky, we have a much harder time feeling that those concepts are real and active in our everyday lives. They're missing. They're missing from our journey. And boy, do we feel the ache. So we can be surrounded by possibilities, and yet we feel like there are no possibilities. We can have resources in abundance around us, and yet we feel impoverished. We can have people who love us everywhere, and nevertheless we feel completely alone. We can have a bright future right there ahead of us, and yet we can't imagine it. We can't visualize it. So quite frankly, a combust Jupiter really sucks, but it happens every single year. So why is it so bad and so heavy at the moment? Well, the second reason is this one. Venus, the other benefic planet in the sky, is in her fall, and she's going to be in her fall in Virgo until August the 6th. So Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is opposite Virgo, and that means the sign that you're exalted in means the sign opposite that sign is your fall sign. So Venus is in fall. Now, Virgo, what does Virgo do? Virgo is a beautiful sign. Lovely, lovely energy. I love Virgo. I have so many Virgos in my family. It's uncanny. But Virgo strips Venus of ease and softness and replaces that ease and softness with critique, analysis, and this hyper-awareness of what's lacking in our lives and what's broken. Virgo asks the question, is it useful? Is it efficient? Can we afford it? Well, what's wrong with it? What needs fixing? What isn't working? What could go wrong? And taken to an extreme, these are pretty heavy questions to sort of have spinning around in our monkey mind all day long. So Venus in Virgo actually can turn this Venusian principle of pleasure and enjoyment and contentment into constant assessment, constant worry. So instead of life is good, it becomes, well, life could be good if we could just fix these 17 things first. And that's exactly the sort of atmosphere that we are in right now on the planet. And we start noticing things like what's wrong with our relationships, what's wrong with our bodies, what's wrong with our finances, what's wrong with our homes, what's wrong with our jobs, what's wrong with our society, what's wrong with ourselves. It's a very unforgiving time. And again, it really does suck. But once again, Venus moves through Virgo every single year. This is not an anomaly. It just so happens that the cycle of Venus in Virgo is happening at the same time as Jupiter is combust. They're lining up together this year. And in fact, they will also be in the same dynamic next year and the year after as well. So something to be ready for, okay? But this is a period of time when both the benefic planets are struggling to give their blessings to we humans on the planet. But friends, that's not all. Here's the free set of steak knives that's also thrown in, and it's Saturn down here, retrograde in the sign of Aries, which is his fall. So this is the third component in all this heaviness. And this one is an energy of review and correct. This is the sequence. So we're asking with Saturn retrograding in Aries, what needs fixing in our lives? A bit like Venus in Virgo. What needs more maturity? Where do I need to tighten my belt and become more economical or more stoic or more principled or more practical? That's Saturn retrograde energy in any sign. But it's difficult when he's in his fall in Aries. Saturn retrograde can give us material struggle plus shadow work to deal with a feeling of no visible relief in sight. Saturn in Aries is particularly uncomfortable as a combination when Saturn is retrograding. And this is because Saturn is a planet that says, wait, establish the structure, be patient, and accept the limitations. While Aries says, no way, I want now, I want to act, I want to move, I want results immediately. Oh my God, what a crazy contradiction this energy is. So people can experience at this time, and we are experiencing at this time, sort of this dreadful expression of effort without results. That's psychologically brutal. It creates that awful, awful feeling of, I'm just doing everything I can. Why isn't anything happening? So hard. It's one of the most Saturnian experiences imaginable. And boy, does it suck. Because Saturn is retrograde, there can also be a feeling of having to revisit things that we actually thought were already finished. Old debts come back to haunt us, old disappointments, old career issues, old relationship dynamics, old family problems, old fears, old structural problems in society itself. It isn't necessarily that new problems are appearing. Sometimes it's just, I thought I dealt with this. Why has it come back? So Saturn retrograde, another heavy energy thrown into this mix. It's essentially, this is where we're at. The benefics are temporarily unable to perform their functions at full strength, and I've explained why. And at the same time, Saturn is simultaneously demanding that people deal with the realities they would much rather sweep under the mat and not have to deal with. Heavy stuff. Now, as if that wasn't enough, and I'm explaining and laying out why, I will talk about the end of this energy very soon. But the universe has also thrown in on top of all that some really deep psychological components. We have Neptune retrograding as well, and Pluto retrograding, as well as Saturn. This is the Saturn-Neptune-Pluto undertow. And this is difficult. It's not a light, carefree energy to have all these big outer planets that are actually connecting with one another going retrograde at the same time. And it calls forth really deep, introspective, soul-searching work deep within our psyche to transform us. The universe wants us to grow and mature, but God, it's hard sometimes. And psychologically, Saturn and Neptune together in Aries, it can be particularly miserable as a retrograde together in the same sign because it's combining Saturn with his reality focus, his limits, his morality, his scarcity, his energy of responsibility, with Neptune's uncertainty and disillusion and confusion and fear and diffuse boundaries and feeling of helplessness. So what's the result of mixing this oil and water energy together? It can be, I don't know what is happening, but I know I just can't control it. And my friends, isn't that one of the most anxiety-producing combinations that there is? Don't you just hate to feel like life is out of control? When you look at your bank account, when you look at the government decisions, when you look at the scales when you get on them in the morning, when your child is getting bullied at school, you feel out of control. You can't do anything about the circumstances. It is so anxiety-inducing. So here is another component of the energy that is at play. Pluto, as I said as well, is also retrograding in Aquarius, and of course this adds a collective dimension to all this craziness. You know, Pluto's power structures, social systems, group dynamics, social instability, and all the darker aspects of collective behavior. This is Pluto's collective expression in these areas. So just look at what happened in Spain this week. So when you're hearing people talking about all the crime, all the social deterioration, the personal vulnerability, the financial insecurity, when you're hearing people deep in depression or fear or dealing with their shadow material, it's quite plain that the current astrology has synced up in such a way that creates this atmosphere that I'm describing. But my friends, keep in mind everything is cyclical. Good times come and go. Bad times come and go. Nothing actually does remain stuck. It just maybe requires a little patience from time to time. And that's where we're at right now. Hang on there, bite your fingernails if you have to, because everything is changing. And I'm going to tell you when things are going to lift and how they're going to lift right now. So the first thing off the agenda is going to be Venus moving out of Virgo on August 6th. That's not far away. And she's going to move into her own sign, Libra. We Librans, we love having Venus in our own sign. Her own sign, her best expression. This will be an almost immediate softening. Now, it's not going to be like a lightning bolt of change, but it's a softening around relationships, around your personal comfort level, your sense of self-worth and self-value, and the general feeling of pleasure and abundance in our everyday lives. Whew, hang in there. We're almost there. Then, as the month goes on, Jupiter will clear combustion between August 9th and 20th, depending on where you live on the planet when he becomes visible in the sky. Now, this is the real hinge point. Faith, divine generosity, and doors to greater possibilities become active once again as Jupiter's light returns to the Earth. I am so excited. I miss my Jupiter. He rules Pisces, my rising sign. And boy, I notice when he is invisible every year. Ugh, hate it. Bring it on. August 9th to 20th, depending where you are in the world. Now, Saturn is going to stay retrograde until late November. So the undertone with Aries doesn't fully release this month. We're still going to keep going through those Saturnian restructuring energies that I described. But the good news is it stops being paired with a hidden Jupiter, which is the part that makes things feel hopeless rather than just needful of more effort. So yay, that is going to feel more bearable once Jupiter becomes visible. We have eclipses going on all throughout August as well. I mentioned this earlier. So a lot of emotions and key transformational life events are about to take place. You can find out more about what those key events will be for your sign at my massive Guiding Star Astrology Family Eclipse Overview. Links in the description to join the Guiding Star family below. But with eclipse energy at work throughout August, don't expect everything to suddenly be coming up roses in the blink of an eye. Instead of, why is everything so heavy? Why is everything so bleak? What's going to happen is we'll start to feel more like, okay, I finally understand what this is all about. I know I can't keep carrying it this way. Something needs to change. And it will. Eclipses bring change. So fair warning, there can be grief and endings. You know, we're sad because something's coming to a conclusion in our life. There can be exhaustion. There can be revelations that you receive. There can be emotional release at this time due to the eclipses. And the good news is this is actually a discharge of all this yucky, heavy, stuck energy that we're struggling with right now. So that is some good news. The eclipses are going to perhaps feel tense for a time as we process it all, but then it's like, out the other side. And then the real winner in the mix of when things are going to change and why things are going to change is the Saturn-Jupiter trine that's going to occur on August the 31st. I can't wait for that. I'll be talking more about that topic when it comes up at the time. But in short, as an overview for now, the current misery we're feeling has a time limit. This is the first of the Jupiter-Saturn trines, and it becomes exact on the 31st of August, as I said, at approximately 13 degrees of Leo to Aries. So Saturn will be at 13 degrees Aries, Jupiter will be at 13 degrees Leo. They will make an exact aspect. If you've got planets around those degrees, you lucky thing, you'll feel it very strongly. But this whole influence is going to be building throughout August, and it will continue to flow and be felt all through September. It's a blessing. This is a completely different Saturn-Jupiter combination from having Jupiter combust and Saturn in sort of an isolated mode. Jupiter says there's possibilities. Saturn says, well, let's make them real. Oh, I love it. Great time to come on a retreat for astrology trip to Tahoe. If you're interested, the energy is going to be perfect. So that is one of the most useful combinations for actually turning hope into something tangible. Believe me, it's going to get so much better, my friends. And for people who've been in stuck circumstances where nothing seems to move, real possibilities feel like an enormous improvement in our lives. The Jupiter-Saturn trine is almost like the perfect antidote to this present condition that we're going through. It's hope and structure, opportunity and realism meeting. It's growth and sustainability for the long term coming together. It's faith and evidence for the faith that we've had. It's expansion with appropriate boundaries. I love it. Perhaps most importantly, something that was previously only hoped for and dreamt of can start becoming concrete and real around the end of August. So isn't that worth hanging on for? till we get there. It's a very different energy, what we're experiencing right now compared to where we'll be at the end of August. And the good news is we need to know this in this moment because knowledge is power and it gets us through the dark times. So friends, let's find out how it's going to play out for each and every sign. Well, as you can see, my lovely Leos, you have Jupiter in a combust state in your first house. That means there is a lot of issues going on at the moment regarding first house things. So one of the ways this expresses is that problems that have been buried are coming back to the surface now. Problems perhaps with your appearance or your self-esteem or how you regard your body. Problems with well-being. Problems with being able to access a state of happiness and joy that may otherwise be there in your life. It's kind of disappeared now because of this combust Jupiter state in the first house. So this is this problem. If you've experienced things like this before, struggles with well-being, struggles with self-esteem and willpower, struggles with personal happiness, and general prosperity as well as in Vedic astrology is seen from the first house. If you have had problems with feeling joyful, feeling in that state of strength and happiness and prosperity, it's likely bubbling up right now and really weighing you down, making you feel that lack, making you feel that that heaviness about your path in life. Sometimes this can even manifest as not knowing which path to take, what direction you should be pursuing, like you feel even maybe a little bit desperate, trying this, trying that, it's not working, feels like nothing's happening. And you get a little bit in this state of panic and into survival mode, because of the combust Jupiter in the first house. I want to just let you know that this is not an ongoing type of situation that you need to worry about in the long term. As I said in the introduction, it is going to reach a final stage, and by the end of August, doors are going to begin opening. Now, that might mean that your general prosperity and your situation with regard to your path through life and the mission that you're here to fulfill will start to receive more opportunities. Will start to, get more offers of business prospects after a frustrating delay, or opportunities to negotiate a new arrangement in your life in some way, shape or form that helps you move further into your prosperity and your path through life and gives you much more happiness as well. Relationships will receive more support by the end of August too, because this is on the relationship axis that Jupiter is invisible and combust. So right now, relationships can feel very pressurized because of certain circumstances in life, like money issues, work and family obligations, or the health of a family member, or housing circumstances that are putting pressure on an otherwise really healthy relationship. But by the end of August, that relationship, and it can be a marriage, it can be a business partnership, it could be a client relationship. That relationship that's struggling is going to actually start to receive support rather than pressure in life. People become more cooperative. There's reconciliation available. Partnerships become more mutually beneficial instead of one-sided. And arrangements to, even starting a relationship actually become much more easy to establish as well. So lots of really practical directions that this is going to take if you can just hang in there until the end of August, and the reasons for which I spoke about in the introduction. Long-standing problems are finally going to receive a solution at this time. So that is very, very positive. This could have to do with the way you've branded a business, or your personality, or your image in some way. And if there was an issue or a problem around that, it might be getting resolved. I, for one, have had that kind of circumstance myself as a Leo sun person. I've had to really readdress a lot of the SEO and the website setup that I have had in the past. And I believe it's leading to a really positive solution now for my website, for example. And that has to do with my personal and my business brand. So entrepreneurism is seen from the first house as well, Leo. So if you've had any problems moving into an entrepreneurial endeavor or being able to establish yourself with in a partnership that is entrepreneurial or any sort of entrepreneurial sort of startup, then this energy brings a shift of positivity for you, which is just great. And of course, it brings more positivity at the end of August for your sense of self, your sense of worthiness and potential self-love too. And the reason that is not so much because of the Jupiter combustion having ended, but it's because Venus will move out of Virgo where she is in her fall. And so around that time, which is actually fairly early on in August, we're going to get, as I said in the introduction, a softening of the energy regarding what we value, and that can include ourselves, how we value ourselves. Instead of being self-critical, instead of being full of, dark thoughts about our health, our body, our looks, our style, whatever it happens to be, we actually start to see the truth of the matter, which is that we are all beautiful and shining our own individual unique light here in this incarnation on the planet. So, of course, there are issues right now around this. Maybe financial pressures are very, very visible in your life. You feel overwhelmed potentially, Leo, by rising costs or an income that's not, meeting the daily needs of your life. There might have been delayed payments. That certainly happened with me. A lot of my payments I was expecting to help me pay my mortgage, etc., were delayed for various reasons or another. It was really, really tough. Employment insecurity is another one that can be expressing for Leo people right now. Unexpected expenses that expose where we're feeling weak or vulnerable. These are some of the issues of a Virgo, a weak Venus in Virgo at the same time as Jupiter is combust in Leo. And so the good news is that fairly soon, in the coming week or so, like I said, that's going to soften. Doors will begin opening. Financial circumstances will begin to stabilize. So money that was delayed might now arrive. New income streams can appear. Expenses might become far more manageable and breathable for you. Practical solutions emerge to previously difficult material problems as Venus moves out of Virgo and into her own sign, Libra. So that's what I'm seeing, generally speaking, about what is happening this month in August as in a big expansive picture, because we're moving out of this really debilitated, benefic period into something that's going to be so much better. As I said in the introduction, I will be talking more about the magnificent Jupiter-Saturn trine that will be coming up at the end of August. So tune in, subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss that one when it comes about. But also don't forget we're in eclipse season right now. And there has never been a better time to get all the information you need to know about how this eclipse season is going to bless you, and it will. And you can get that at the Guiding Star family. The link is in the description below. As I said in the introduction, for $5, the price of a coffee, you can have access to both eclipse breakdowns for all signs. It's both of them will be mammoth videos. You don't want to miss it. Thank you, Leo.